Hi, I'm Femi OK. You're in the stream live on Al Jazeera and YouTube. Today, India's capital, New Delhi, is one of the most polluted cities in the world. In fact, the smog is so bad that doctors say breathing it is the equivalent of smoking up to 50 cigarettes a day. Al Jazeera's Marina Hond explains.
Here's what makes the smog so dangerous. Air quality is assessed by counting matter with a diameter of less than 2.5 micrometers. We're talking absolutely tiny here, around 30 times finer than a human hair. So small it can only be detected with an electron microscope, and small enough to get into your lungs and pass into the bloodstream, causing heart and respiratory problems. The air quality index puts the upper limit for good air at no more than 50, and the highest and most hazardous level on that index is 300 plus. The count for Delhi at times over the last few days has climbed to double that, up past 600.
So Marina just explained there a really serious problem. Now, the pollution in New Delhi is incredibly dangerous and people are very angry. There are social media campaigns, there have been protests in the streets, and many Indians, both in New Delhi and in other polluted cities, say the government is not doing enough. So how can a problem like this be tackled, and what's it like to live with this pollution every day? Joining us to discuss this, Meteorological is an executive director at the Centre for Science and Environment. From Amritsar, Shivam Vij is an independent journalist. Sunil Dahiya is a campaigner at Greenpeace India, and Jyoti Pandey Lavakari, who co-founded the citizen-run organisation Care for Air. Guests, it is good to see you. Thank you for being here. I wanted to build a picture of what it is like to live in a city, in a region that's highly polluted. Sunil, you took a picture while you were driving, one that is dangerous to thank you. Have a look on my laptop. This is about an evening ago. Can you tell us what was happening there, Sunil? Shivam.
Oh, so this is not a picture which I took.
Yes, Shivam. Tell us what's happening here.
I took this picture in Amritsar night before last, and it was night time. I was returning to my hotel. I'm traveling in Amritsar. I'm based in Delhi, and suddenly the fog was so bad that visibility was nearly zero, and that was not surprising at all. It was saddening but not surprising. Nothing about this is surprising. Fortunately, yesterday it rained in Amritsar and rained rather well. And the same smog that you see, like tonight, that vision was completely clear. It was just completely cleared away with the rain.
It's interesting. And people definitely in Delhi have been keeping track of what the weather's been like, what the pollution's been like. Koval says here, please submit any images or videos you have of life as impacted by the horrific air pollution in Delhi right now. Let me show you some of these pictures. As I scroll down here, you can see the face masks, you can see the smog in the background, and I have no idea what this is, but it looks pretty grim. Jyoti, you measure your air all the time. Can you tell us what the air quality is like right now, and how do you keep track of what it's like?
So the air quality right now inside my house is 231. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the laser egg that I use to measure the air quality.
Yeah. Pull it back just a tiny little bit. There you go.
So
yeah, we can see.
226.
228 there, yeah.
228. And it is actually much worse just as I step outside of my house, my main door. I do use air purifier and filters in my house, and I know a lot of people can't afford to use them, so I feel really privileged that I'm able to afford these machines, but I really also feel angry that I must be forced to use more and more devices. I already clean my own water. I triple wash my own fruits and vegetables to get rid of chemical residue. And now I'm supposed to filter the very air that I breathe. My child is a chain smoker in this city just because we chose to live here without ever having touched a cigarette in his entire life. He's a chain smoker, and so are the rest of us, because the air pollution in this city is so bad that there is no way around it. We have to breathe. It's not a choice I make. And I'm so angry that today my environment minister says this is not a problem. My Prime Minister remains silent, and there is a court-appointed body called the Environment Pollution Control Authority. The head of that organization has also said this is not an emergency at all. In fact, he was wondering why we are trying to get schools shut down. And all this just makes me angry and sad that I chose to live in this city in which I can barely breathe now. I feel like I'm suffocating. The air is thick. I can taste it. It stings my eyes, and I can barely step out of my home. These are the things that I, as a citizen of this country, live in.
Anamita, do you want to tell us from an environmental point of view what is going on in India during the winter time so that we actually can see the pollution?
So if I intervene right now, so what is very important to understand is that what we're experiencing right now, this happens every year, particularly during winter, when you have a very adverse weather condition. Now, this is a dual challenge. At one level, your pollution levels in the city are already very high. And then during winter, when you have very still weather condition, and that's exactly what happened these few days, that you had absolutely calm conditions, no wind inside the city to blow it away, and temperature dropping. And what we found that the 7th of November, within 24 hours, we have seen rapid and very quick buildup of pollution, shooting up to a level that was 6 to 7 times higher than the standards. Now, this is a phenomenon we know that happens during winter, and this particular winter, this smog that has built up has really, it's just choking smog that we have just experienced. But let's understand that we know that this is going to happen every winter. The question for us to ask is that is this winter going to be any different? Are we prepared to bend the curve?
Good question.
Now,
let me just ask you, Anamita. Jyoti showed us her way of measuring the air quality, and she was in her house. What should it have read to have good, clean air? We saw 226, 228. What should it be inside your house?
So, well, not inside the house, but the outdoor air quality, we do have a standard, and the 24-hour average should be 60 microgram per cubic meter.
So you should have said 60 on there.
60.
60.
But keep in mind the levels that we have hit in the city were as high as 500 and more. In fact, PM 2.5 levels were more than 300, which is considered to be the emergency level here. So you can imagine what was happening. So what we really need to understand is that in that kind of a weather condition, the problem that you have is that air gets trapped inside the city. And when air gets trapped, the pollution that is happening inside the city also gets trapped. And this is also that difficult part of the year in Delhi. This is the time when our farmers around the city are also changing the crop. So the whole problem of stubble burning that we have, so if the wind is in this direction, because this is the same air shed, now that smoke as well gets mixed with Delhi's own pollution. And that also gets trapped very close to the ground level, very close to our nose level, and that increases exposure.
Let me just
it's just not about air quality data. You also have to look at the health data.
Sure. Anamita, I want to do that. Just hold tight for a moment because I want to bring in some of our community as well. This is Mona Darling. My family wears masks when they go out for work, have stopped going out on morning walks, have got indoor plants at home, coughing, irritable eyes, headache almost every day because of pollution. And then our Kriti tells us we've got polluting masks too, issues an advisory in health hazards of air pollution because in the short term, people may respond differently. Over a long term, air pollution exposure has immense health hazards. Sunil, how dangerous can this be? What is this doing to Indians breathing in this air?
As Anumita, Jyoti as well as Shivam mentioned very clearly that it's not just Delhi wherein the air pollution has been hazardous and we are in a situation of national health emergency where we be in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh or Delhi, we are breathing in these hazardous levels. And it is so hazardous that the sight of seeing a person with mask and people buying air purifiers has been so common in Delhi society, few of them can afford us. But what's happening to other parts of the country as well as millions of other people who are living in Delhi, it's something which is very scary. These people are breathing in these toxic levels in and out day and night, and that's causing the hazards, which ranges from short-term impacts
Sunil, we're having a
to
little trouble hearing
deaths
you, so
and
we're going
even
to try and
cardiovascular disease.
reconnect. Sunil, we're having a little trouble hearing you. We're going to try and reconnect. Let me just move on to something that Jyoti mentioned a little bit earlier, and this is India's Minister of Environment. He said, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything about it. Everyone has to respond to what he's supposed to do, but there is no need to spread panic among the people. Shivam, you're a journalist. You've been covering this story for quite some time. Is this a time to panic or not?
Oh, it's beyond panic. It's absolutely emergency situation. We should have been pressing all emergency buttons. This should be the #1 priority for politicians, because this is affecting our long-term health. The studies which show, the health studies which, Anumita would know more about, are really, really scary. It's shortening our lifespans. It is causing millions of deaths in India. Of the top 10 polluted cities in the world, most of them are in India. It's not just Delhi, as we keep saying. So when the environment minister says it's not a panic situation, what he's essentially saying is, don't blame me for doing nothing.
And can I just add here that this is the same environment minister who 20 years ago was the Delhi state health minister and led the ban for smoking in public places. And at that time, he said that there was a clear connection between smoking, that is breathing in this PM 2.5 and this bad air. All current data is measured by PM 2.5. And the same man 20 years later says this is not an emergency situation. Also, I'd just like to point out government figures give us PM 2.5 levels of whatever they say, 300 to 500. But actually, if private people, when we are looking at our laser eggs or other measuring instruments, or even private researchers, those numbers are off the charts. The day after Diwali, those numbers were at 1300 levels, and that is way above safe limits. And I don't know how this data is being calibrated by the government or what is being done to it. But frankly, today, as a citizen, I don't even trust the data of the Central Pollution Control Board, which is actually giving these numbers to me. In addition to that, the Central Pollution Control Board has itself commissioned a study between Delhi children between the age of, I think, 4 and 17. And they came out with the result that there is, in almost half of these children, there is irreversible lung damage. This is a report that was commissioned by the Central Pollution Control Board, and it lies buried somewhere in their other bureaucratic red tape. It has not even been looked at or acted upon, and that is what makes me sad and angry. There's a report released today by the Journal of Indian Pediatrics, I think, which says Indian children's lungs are nowhere, they grow much slower than other lungs, and at the same age, if you compare those lungs, Indian children's lungs are smaller. And again, that is not something that they chose to do. It's that they're breathing just poor air. And as a parent, I feel bad about it. As a citizen, I feel angry that my tax money is not going to clean the air. This should be a national mission. This should be where our Prime Minister steps in and says, this is a mission of national importance, and we need to set up an authority that can actually take care of this problem, which is contributing to ill health in a country of over 1 billion people. I don't see that happening, and that really makes me angry and sad.
We have seen that the most pollution-linked deaths occur in India. We got that data point from 2015. This is a real emergency for northern India. Anumita, right now there is an emergency plan in place. What is happening, and how has that managed to reduce the amount of pollution that you're seeing in northern India?
So I think, okay, I'll answer that at 2 levels. One, we know that the problem is bad, it's growing, and people are angry. We are all angry because of the problem that we are facing. And it's very much a northern Indian problem, because in northern India is very landlocked. And today, if you look at the satellite pictures, you will see very clearly that entire northern India, where because of the inversion, the pollution buildup is very high. But I think, somewhere along the line, the narrative today has to change from just saying that there is a problem to looking at the opportunities for action. And that has to be the bigger part of the conversation than just beating and saying that there is a problem. In a way, it's good that today a lot more people are aware, a lot more people are talking about this, a lot more people are concerned about it.
So Anamitra,
But
let's talk
today,
about this
this
emergency
public
plan, because
awareness
there
has
are
to
some
work
very
for action.
specific actions that have been happening. Shivam, what are you seeing so
what I
far?
really would like
Let me
to
just
say
share
is-
this with you from Richa. Richa says town planning aspect is so missing in handling air pollution in the entire country. And in fact, the entire South Asia must come together on this issue. Shivam, are you seeing some action happening?
So that's what I
Not
want to
at all.
point out this time.
Not at all.
Because
In fact,
Anamita,
I
hold
disagree
tight.
with
Let me just share the
Anumita.
conversation with Shivam. One
let
moment.
me first put the action part in the perspective. So what I really would like to say that this winter we are looking at it from a different perspective, because for the first time in this country, this region is starting with something called an emergency plan. And I want to give example of two plans right now. So never ever before, even though we had this crisis, Delhi or the region did not have any emergency plan in place like Beijing has or like Paris has. So this year, starting from the 15th of October, we have kicked in several measures which we call emergency measures that include shutting down the power plants, not allowing diesel generator sets in the city, shutting down brick kilns around the city, and then when this very severe smog built up a few days ago, additional measures were carried out, which includes not allowing the trucks to come inside.
So Anamita, this is very interesting because you are seeing the action. Excuse me for one moment, but Shivam is not. Shivam, tell me why.
I disagree.
I don't see it either.
Well, I think that the emergency plan that Anumita is talking about was ordered by the Supreme Court last December. It took the central government 10 months to notify it. After it was notified, it came into force on 15th October. Since then, pollution was rising day by day. There was Diwali on the 19th of October. After that, it rose a lot. In that, from then to 7th November, when it really peaked, the plan should have triggered various government authorities should have triggered 30 alerts. They should have taken those steps, 30 steps, which they did not take. Only after the pollution hit the ceiling, as it were, when the smog started coming into our homes, we could see that white thing. That's when the government pressed the emergency button.
So I hear you. Hold tight for a moment. Let me just share this, because we're actually live right now on YouTube. Upender Kanwar says, is this situation reversible? We spoke to a professor called Shi Sheng, and he has been doing research for the International Food Policy Research Institute with researchers at Peking University and Yale. Of course, China has been in the headlines about their air pollution, and Shi Sheng told us the impact and what China has been doing that might perhaps help India. Have a look.
My recent research with colleagues at IFPRI and Peking University find strong evidence that people feel unhappy and mentally ill and suffer from more cognitive decline as a result of air pollution exposure. In the past 5 years, the Chinese government built a very strong clean energy sector, electric car system, and also empower EPA to clean the environment. In the National Health Blueprint, they address the patient health and go beyond that to address the population health, to involve multiple sectors such as EPA to the health sector, in addition to the Ministry of Health.
Sunil, China is no longer the most polluted area in the world. But they're still struggling with air pollution, but they are making some concrete steps. How do you feel that India is doing compared to China?
Just adding on to the conversation earlier and answering your point, China is moving on to cleaning the air only because they took systematic and comprehensive actions. And as Anumita was mentioning, there are some steps being taken by the government, but what I would like to add is the steps which government is taking are in reaction to the high pollution levels, whereas the GRAP
too little, too late.
plan was supposed to be a precautionary emergency plan rather than reactionary emergency plan. So that's one. And adding on to what Shivam said, that there doesn't seem to be serious actions from the government, I would like to bring in these big polluters, which are industries and thermal power plants. Anumita mentioned one power plant, Badarpur, which had been shut down, which is an old plant, and it's a symbolic thing for the entire air pollution debate. But what happens to other power plants which are in 300-kilometer radius at least of Delhi, and they have been polluting Delhi's air day and night, 365 days a year? There have been new emission standards in place by central government, by Ministry of Environment and Forest, giving only 2 years time for all these big polluters to retrofit and reduce emission from their power plants. But today we are less than a month away from that deadline of 2 years, which is on 7 December 2017, and there doesn't even seem to be a single power plant in the country which has retrofitted in last year and complying 100% to the new notifications. And this is the seriousness we are showing in terms of acting on reducing pollution levels. This is definitely not which will bring air quality under breathable limits and give us relief from this national health emergency. Yes, we are moving, but where are we moving and what are we moving on is definitely something to be asked. And I hope this winter is not the same winter as we faced last year, and we don't end up on a bad note.
We're just pretending to move.
I think it's a very important point, and I think that's why we need to look at the second opportunity that is just now has come through, and that is the comprehensive action plan, because the Supreme Court has been very clear. They said that the city cannot be on emergency mode all the time. So it has also directed a comprehensive action plan, and which is going to get finalized and notified by the end of this week, where they have identified short, medium, and long-term measures for each and every source of pollution in Delhi and the National Capital Region, with a very clear timeline with the agency who's supposed to be responsible for implementation. And once that gets notified, like the GRAP has been notified, then that becomes directly monitorable under scrutiny with a compliance strategy. And I think
but
this
surely that
plans together give us a big opportunity.
Let me just bring in Jyoti, because we're in the last 1 minute or so of the programme. Jyoti, go ahead. She's been waiting quite patiently.
Delhi is polluted.
I'd like to just say that there are 2 points I want to make.
Hold tight, Jyoti. Sunil, finish your sentence, please.
No, so I was saying, yes, we have been speaking about GRAP as well as few other measures to be implemented in Delhi, but what is happening all across the country, that's also something to see. We shouldn't let these peoples in other states beyond Delhi, beyond national capital region to die in these high pollution levels. So our next actions has to be national, and we should, learning from China, what Amy just mentioned.
That's true.
We
Even
should
the
have
Supreme Court
time-bound
seems to
action
be
plans
getting
for
on
hold tight for a moment.
all the regions across the country, and it shouldn't only be limited to Delhi. We are in national health emergency, and national health emergency means national actions to be taken in a systematic, time-bound and coordinated way.
Okay. Jyoti, what did you want to add?
I wanted to add very quickly that, firstly, when you have an emergency, you don't have a graded response to it. You act instantly. Our schools are still functioning. Schools have not been shut down. Air quality is still severe. It's poor. But the government is waiting for the rains to come so that there'll be a few days of sunshine and they can continue with schools. Matches are happening. Half marathons are being run. So we're all complicit. It's not just the government that is responsible. There are corporates who should be practicing their social responsibility. Instead of that, they are sponsoring runs and sports tournaments. Children are going out to play football matches. My son had a football match and I have forbidden him to go. That is not how I should be. Corporates should be stopping this activity. The city needs to shut down to show that there is a seriousness of intent, because we have the money, we have the best brains. We have the Indian Agricultural Institute, which can work on the crop stubble burning. We have Startup India. Our Prime Minister keeps talking about Make in India. How do you make in India when you can't even breathe in India?
Jyoti and Shivam and Anamitra and Sunil, thank you so much for taking part in this programme. The conversation continues at #AJStream. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.